All right, that's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. That is a poll-bound state. We're seeing Prime Minister with his most spirited speech right after he returns from his US visit. Here's the Prime Minister tearing into the opposition unity optics that we saw just last week. Prime Minister Modi really coming down heavy on the opposition's unity meet that they held just last week in Patna, saying that if you want to see parties trying to protect their family and dynasty, then you vote for them. If you want to see a better future for yourself, then you vote for the Kamal. This is Prime Minister's words. In fact, the Prime Minister goes on to point out, if a family, how can a family run peacefully if every member of the family has different rules? This is what he says, while pointing out at the Uniform Civil Code as well. In this elaborate speech, he's touched upon some many serious issues, including the UCC that the BJP has been mulling over introducing in India. And to that effect, he says a family running peacefully, basically suggesting that India is one family, and a family run peacefully, how is it possible that each one has different rules? Again, suggesting that that's the BJP's wish to implement the Uniform Civil Code. Many points, many poll-worthy points that were touched upon by the Prime Minister. These were promises that he made in 2014 and 2019 as well. It appears UCC has come back to become a primary point of discussion this time around, ahead of 2024 too. And even as the Prime Minister speaks on that, he goes on to talk about the opposition unity, saying this is the opposition unity. In fact, the opposition parties are coming together for the only reason that they can shrug off and fight off all the corruption cases that have been leveled against them. He goes on to list the number of scams that have been unearthed or are currently under probe, all during the Congress regime, and the regional parties that are now coming together as one opposition unit in Patna. Those are the parties he listed out who are involved in alleged scams. This is Prime Minister who speaks in a very spirited, lengthy speech in Bhopal, as he was there to flag off the Vande Bharat trains. And just as he was doing that, he found this opportunity to point and poke fingers at the opposition unity meet that has come just in time of 2024, barely a few months away. Rahul Srivastav joining us on the phone line, who's really observing this kind of development coming in. Rahul, right as Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in the United States, here in India, in Patna particularly, the opposition unity meet had become, or had grabbed headlines, with all the opposition parties who otherwise do not see eye to eye in their respective states, came together as one unit to fight the Modi or the BJP juggernaut itself for 2024. As soon as Prime Minister Modi arrives, he holds this very in fact, he's flagged off a bunch of trains, Vande Bharat trains in Bhopal, used that opportunity to make the most spirited speech while pointing fingers at the opposition unity, calling this a mere gimmick and saying this is done only to escape corruption charges against them. Tell us, how do you look at this very spirited talk where he also touched upon UCC?
Nabila, if you see the Prime Minister's statement, it is one thing is very, very clear, that the Prime Minister and the BJP seem unfazed by the opposition coming together. It is not, in fact, it seems to be BJP trying to use it for its own advantage. I say that. If you see, there are two big components of the speech of the Prime Minister, and the strongest perhaps is the dynastic element. He has said that if you want to help son and daughter of Gandhi, vote for the Congress, son of Lalu Yadav RJD, son of Mulayam SP, son of Karunanidhi DMK, daughter of Sharad Pawar, vote NCP, son of Farooq Abdullah, vote for National Conference, son and daughter of KSKR, vote for BRS. What Prime Minister is virtually trying to say is that the entire coming together of the opposition is a coming together of political dynasts. And that's something was one of the main plank of the BJP and Prime Minister Narendra Modi since 2014. That Shehzadi and other elements have always been targeting the dynastic element. The second is corruption. The corruption element is extremely strong. somewhere what the Prime Minister is trying to tell is the rather clean record of his own government, which according to him is way cleaner than what other governments have provided, be it the UPA at the centre, or Akhilesh Yadav, or Lalu Prasad Yadav, who was in jail for the border scam. His family members are facing charges, KCR family, and several others. So it's a two-pronged attack. One is this larger element about corruption and dynasty, and the second important element is guarantee. It's a personal element of that the elections will be fought on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's image when he says that I want to give a guarantee that if they guarantee corruption, then I guarantee catching them. So what one can say is that the first statement by the Minister on the opposition coming together on the 23rd to say that they will be meeting again in Shimla in the first or second week of July for a more concerted bid to come together, Prime Minister has replied that this is a coming together of dynast and corrupt.
All right, Rahul, thank you very much for joining us on that. This is, of course, Prime Minister Modi's first speech, a talk that he gave in pole-bound state of Madhya Pradesh in Bhopal, where he was flagging off the Vande Bharat trains. He took that opportunity to make this very spirited talk, almost a poll pitch itself, where pointing fingers at the opposition unity was his primary focus. He also spoke about Uniform Civil Code. Palmi joining us also for a little more on that to dissect the Prime Minister's speech. Palmi, if you saw this and heard the speech of Prime Minister, like Rahul said, a two-pronged attack where he lashed out at the Congress and many of the other opposition parties who are making guarantees, basically poll guarantees, like the Congress has done in Karnataka, 5 poll guarantees, a method that they are adopting now in different poll-bound states. Freebies, if one could call it. He says that all that is done with all the through corrupt means that they've earned money over the last years of their governance. Now they're putting into giving away freebies in poll-bound states. If you want to see your family or their family flourish, vote for opposition. If you want to see your family flourish, vote for the Kamal.
Well, Nabila, this was probably the most fiercest attack against the opposition that the Prime Minister has made in recent times. This definitely sets not just the poll pitch for the assembly elections in Madhya Pradesh later this year, but for the Lok Sabha elections, because he took on the collective opposition in this speech that he made while addressing, of course, booth-level karyakartas and party workers of the Bharatiya Janata Party in Bhopal, because very rarely have you heard the Prime Minister name each opposition party, each individual and personality when attacking them. So he actually went one by one, and that was probably one of the highlights of the speech, where he said, if you want to see the son and the daughter of the Gandhis flourish, then vote for the Congress. If you want to see Sharad Pawar's skin flourish, vote for the NCP. You want to see the Abdullahs flourish, vote for the National Conference. You want to see Karnanidhi's skin flourish, vote for the DMK. And he went on like that. RJD, SP, Mulayam Singh Yadav, Lalu Prasad Yadav. He named each political party and, of course, the party patriarch, saying that if you want to watch dynasty politics flourish, then you keep voting for these specific parties, these individual regional parties. But if you want to watch yourself, your kith and kin, your grandchildren flourish, you want to see your family do well, then vote for the Bharatiya Janata Party. As far as the opposition meet in Patna was concerned, he clearly stated that this is a conglomerate of the corrupt. He said that this conglomerate, this opposition alliance in itself sums up for 20 lakh crores worth of corruption, and he named each of the scams for which each of these opposition parties are being investigated. He mocked them. He said that, these are people who've come together because each of them seems to have some experience having been in jail, and the others are being investigated for crimes. If they're outside, they've not served time. So they're basically sharing their experiences.
In many ways, the Prime Minister's most pointed attack, the first of its kind, ahead of elections, barely a few months away. We can't even say a year now for 2024. And this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi almost starting off that campaign right here from that poll-bound state of Madhya Pradesh.